So what I've decided to do is test another one of these, the apple cider vinegar on rust. I'm going to kind of compare because I have some metal residue outside that I'm going to put some pieces in. Just trying to decide which ones I want to put in here and which ones I want to put in the metal rescue. I think because I know the metal rescue works really well, I'm going to use this piece in the metal rescue because it's got a fair amount of rust on it all over that. And I'm going to put the bolts and the little screws in here. I think I'll leave that one. I think this one I'll put in with the metal, with the vinegar and these little pieces. I'll be in for vinegar. I'm going to put those three in the choke. That doesn't look like a lot of rust on it, but I'll put that one in the vinegar because of that. Spring. I'll do that in the metal rescue. I don't see a lot of rust on it anyway. The jet doesn't need to do anything. There's some bolts in here. There's some screws in here that got some rust on them, so we'll put those in with the metal rescue. And the one piece on the right, I'll put in metal rescue. The set screw I'm not going to. And we'll see how it goes. And I've also got my steel fuel line that is pretty bad shape. I'm going to put all the smaller nuts and bolts and stuff, the stuff I'm doing in the vinegar is going to go into this smaller container, and I'll just shake it around a little bit to make sure all the pieces get coated. The larger pieces, along with some of these other screws that are going to go in the metal rescue, will go in that. And there's the metal rescue. I found this stuff when I was working on a motorcycle that had been sitting stagnant for I don't know how many years, who knows. I know it was at my mom's house for at least 2 years doing nothing except sitting outside, and the pieces that I used it on were far more rusty than these, and it just did a really nice job. I'm going to take that lock washer off of that bolt. So we're going to do these. Very important thing with metal rescue that I've noticed, and it says it on the thing, but it does make a difference. You need to make sure you use it at the proper temperature. So in the house, it's fine. Stuff has very little smell to it, and I'm just wearing the gloves because I already had them on. But you just stick it in. I'm going to submerge each of the all the parts, and then I'll put a top on that lid on that plastic thing and leave it sit. I've noticed that the longer you leave it in, the blacker it makes your metal. So you really want to try and pull it out as quick as your rust is gone. And so far, let's see, I think I started that motorcycle project about maybe 2 years ago, year and a half at least, to 2 years ago, and none of the parts, I've got several of the parts that are still off the bike, like the chain and things like that. It's an old early 70s Yamaha that I'm still, actually I'm just kind of waiting for it to warm up so I can paint, and then I can get that thing back together. But the chain was one of the things that I put in there, several other parts, and to this point there's been no rust coming back. So so far I believe in the stuff until it proves me otherwise. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and there's really just not much to the metal rescue. It's safe to get on your hands, clean it up just like you would water. That should be plenty. And the beauty is, after it's done, I will just leave it in this canister. Unfortunately, it'll have to probably stay in the house until we really hit the bigger part of spring. just because then I can move it out to the shop and it'll just stay in the shop while I'm rebuilding the Spitfire. By that time it'll be no good anymore, but you can reuse it until you notice that there is until it's not working anymore, and you'll know because it is fairly quick. Alright, here we are. I don't know how many hours it's been, just a couple, with the metal rescue pieces, and as you can see, does a real nice job. Just kind of wipes right off. So just kind of, this is exactly what I found on the motorcycle parts that I did. Does a beautiful job. Does kind of discolor the metal usually. This time it doesn't appear to be doing that bad of a job, probably because I'm checking it so often. So you can see that the springs kind of turned it a little white actually. And where it doesn't get is down into threads very well. Actually though, yeah, it looked like it did pretty good actually. So I'm just kind of cleaning right in here. So we'll take that little spring and take that out. I'm going to go ahead and throw that back in the metal rescue. And I'll probably put that back in the metal rescue for a little bit. And I really don't want to take this whole thing apart because the spring is latched there, so I'm just going to go ahead and let it soak for a little bit longer, probably another hour at the most, and then it'll be ready. Spring looks fine. In fact, I probably should go ahead and take some of the parts out. But all right, I'm going to put that back in for a little bit. And now we're going to look at the vinegar pieces. That's just holding the lid down since I don't have the lid for this. All right, so vinegar piece. Oops. Looks really good. Getting just about the same kind of results there. This one I had actually pulled out and looked at just a minute ago, so it's kind of not fair. Let me pull out something else that I haven't looked at yet. Pull out one of the bolts. Alright, so there's a pretty rusty bolt. Let's see if that wipes off yet. Nope, not yet. So that must be a heavier rust on it than the throttle linkage had. So that's not ready yet. Pull out a different one of the bolts. Same story. Taking just a little bit longer. Take some of the thinner metal. So there's one of the pieces there, and there you go. Just very similar to the rust, the metal rescue. It just wipes right off. So it really just depends on how thick the rust is. Some of those pieces are going to take a little while longer than the others. So, and here's the screw or the bolt that had the two rusty sides. The rest were pretty good. Let's see about those rusty sides. And vinegar kind of almost to the point where it's wiping all that rust away. And there we go, just about. And on this side, do we get the same thing? I'm scraping just a little bit, not very much though, so it's getting close. That one will go back in for a bit.